Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to discuss a very good 8-game NBA slate for this Sunday. We will be playing the one-game early game by itself, which is Milwaukee-Brooklyn, and then we'll have our main slate, the 7 games that start this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So I will review all 8 games in this podcast, go over some of this early news, and as always, stay in touch as the day goes on. Hopefully jump in our Discord with us, and we'll be updating all the news as it drops. And that is a key factor, is staying up to date on all that news. Great night last night. We really hammered away at the NBA with some main slate and after hours victories. So that was great for the Coach Talk community. A lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie there. So that is great to see. And we're calling today a sweep and secure the bag Sunday. So we're looking for the weekend sweep. We want to take some stuff down today as well. So we are going to get after it, but appreciate you tuning in here on this Sunday. It's actually a rainy, cloudy Sunday in Dallas, which is unusual, but it is going to be a sunny one here for DFS as we go over a slate that I think is really solid. I think there's some good games that we can attack here, and there's definitely some fades that we can run away from that will be fairly popular. So excited about that as well. If you want to join at DFS Coach Talk, very simply go to dfscoachtalk.com. There's several different memberships that you can get there. We have as little as a 3-day pass. It's a trial pass for $10, and you can jump in and dip your toe in the water. We had a couple of awesome new members that jumped in yesterday, and they both hit really well, so that was a great way to start with them. Shout out to Longhorns and Hot Dog, too. We got a Longhorn and a Hot Dog were basically the two names of the people that jumped in yesterday. I love it. But they both were victorious, and we're going to do more of the same today. So let's get into the slate. The first game is against the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. So it is a game that sits alone at 3:30 Eastern. Brooklyn's 43-21, Milwaukee 39-24. So competitive game there. We've got Milwaukee a 1-point favorite and a big fat 243 over under. Very solid. Now, does it make any difference that number is so high? No, because this is going to be our single game by itself. So it is what it is, but it would definitely be a stackable game if it was in the main slate. As far as the statistical analysis here, we've got Brooklyn, the 11th fastest team pace-wise in the league, and Milwaukee second. So pace up even more so for Brooklyn, which is definitely something we want to look at. Defensively, Brooklyn's 22nd, Milwaukee is 8th. So a little edge there certainly to the Nets, or I'm sorry, to the Bucks. Let's talk about who's out and in. There's a lot of probables on the slate across the board today. And just, it's starting to become a joke. Like the Lakers have 7 guys probable. I mean, really? So I just marked the probable ones as we go through this as the real important players that have missed or been limited and now are going to be back in. And I state that because Giannis is our first example of that. He's probable today, and definitely I think they sat him yesterday in this last game in order to prepare him for this game against Brooklyn. Or did he sit? Maybe he did play. He was questionable, I think. But he should be geared up and ready to go against Brooklyn. No worries there. DiVincenzo, who definitely missed the last game, he is back in, so he'll be added to the mix. And then on the Brooklyn side, the only news is the same as it's been before. Chioza Claxton, and of course the Beard is still out. So, where do you go in a single game like this with all these studs? The question is Kevin Durant going to get full minutes or not? If he does, he certainly can be a target. If you see that he and Irving are going to split minutes or split usage a little bit, you may want to go a different captain route. Certainly, Durant and Irving are the two guys that you want to roster. But this, you're going to have a couple of value plays to make this lineup work. You can't certainly play, the top 3 or 4 guys here with Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, Irving, and Durant. You're going to have to probably pick 2 of those and then either fill in with somebody like a Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, somewhat possible. DiVincenzo coming back, if he gets full run, isn't a bad play in itself. Landry Shamet's been logging a ton of minutes with the short-handed backcourt. He may be a decent play, but this game's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be a tough early one. As of right now, I'm leaning a bit towards KD. I know that he's going to be guarded by some tough customers, including Giannis, but I just think KD is a little fresher. I think he steps up, and I like him here as probably a captain play. And then the decision will come to determine who that second stud is. Makes it tough with Giannis salary-wise. Almost wouldn't mind going with Drew Holiday, believe it or not. He's sort of a secondary option, as is Chris Middleton. And then, for me, a couple of the value guys that I certainly would consider here, as I stated, were Shamet, Harris, and DiVincenzo. So that is about it for that game. Definitely not an easy one. It's not like there's a big stud. It's just everybody's going to take and then fill in from there. There's some big decisions there. You'll see a lot of different builds. So should be a fun game to start the day and a good game to watch as well. All right, we have a 7-game main slate that we get an extra 30 minutes on. 7:30 p.m. Eastern starts this slate. And the first game on the board is the Portland Trailblazers and the Boston Celtics. Portland is 35-28. Boston is 34-30. Portland is on the first night of a back-to-back. It's an island game for Boston. Boston is a 1.5-point favorite with a big 232 number. So, very interesting to see what's going to happen here. We've got from pace of play, slightly below average for both at 16 and 18. Defensive efficiency, Portland horrible 29th. Boston middle of the pack or so at 13. The only big piece of news here is Kemba Walker is doubtful. I'm pretty sure he will not suit up. So the question is, can you go back to Jason Tatum and his 60-point real point night from the other day? Very interesting to see. He's going to get Covington defense more than likely. I respect Covington defense, and certainly has to regress some. His salary's high, but can't blame anybody to want to go with a hot hand. I'm not going to go there. I think that this is a game where Jaylen Brown may be a slightly better player to go with. Also on the Portland side, I'm going to go with Lillard or McCollum. The question is, who is Marcus Smart going to guard? Right now, I have him on Lillard, so McCollum's going to be my target. McCollum had an absolutely horrible game the last game, and he did cost me big time because it was between him and DeRozan. They were the same salary, and McCollum literally put up 15 fantasy points for the whole game. And the reason being, there was a defensive shift, and the tougher defender guarded CJ instead of Lillard, which was shocking to me. So I think that turns around here. I think Smart mainly focuses on Lillard because he did light it up last game. And I think McCollum can take advantage of the Fournier defense. Now, Here's the other possibility. If Jaylen Brown guards CJ, then the guy that I want to look at is Norman Powell. So I'm going to be studying this game. It's the first game on the slate. We're going to have some coach talk. We're going to have some lineups posted, and it's all going to shuffle based on what I see those assignments being like. It's hard to look back because Fournier's only been with the team so long, so the shift is different. Also with Kemba off the floor, so it's going to be more than likely either McCollum or Powell based on those matchups, and I'll be able to determine that before game one. So, come jump in our Discord, become a member, dfscoachtalk.com. I wish I could share that and say, this is the guy, but I need to see what that information is going to pan out, because that is the key to how this one is going to flow. So want that exposure with this really high scoring expected game at 232 for the total. Would love to have definitely have some either McCollum or Powell. On the other side, I'm looking more toward Jaylen Brown as my play. I don't think Marcus Smart's a bad play either. He started off really slow in the last game, but finished very well. So going to fade away from Tatum just because of the price and the interior defense. Not crazy about the bigs here with Nurkic, who crushed it for us, but he and Can are splitting with Robert Williams, who's probably going to split a few minutes with Thompson there at the center, just not wanting to go that deep. So definite exposure here, an important game to start the slate, and we'll hone in on those final decisions as time comes. All right, the second game is the Sacramento Kings against the Dallas Mavericks. We know that the Mavs are coming off a back-to-back with that really exciting game that they pulled out with the 3 by Dodo in the corner there. Terrific game, big minutes for everybody that played. So definite concern with Carlisle. But, I would think the Mavs are going to want to dial up their guys, because right now they've moved into 5th. They're tied with the Lakers, but have the tiebreaker. And Sacramento handed it to Dallas the last time. So, the problem is Sacramento has 2 of their best 3 players, in my opinion, out, Fox and Mr. Barnes. So Dallas has a distinct advantage here. I'm concerned about this game. It's a 228.5 over under. So that is good. It's a 7-point Dallas spread. We've got Porzingis remaining out with a hangnail, and we've got Sacramento. Metu is also doubtful, and we already said Barnes and Fox. Sacramento is the 9th fastest pace team, so good pace up again for Dallas. They went against Washington, who's the fastest, but Dallas is 26th, so that should slow down some of the play, and again, probably extended play for the bench with Dallas because of the big minutes yesterday in that victory. Defensively, though, it grabs your attention. Sacramento still buried last, and it's not even close. Dallas 18th, so below average. This game is just such a mixture of confusion here. The injuries with Sacramento, the back-to-back with Dallas, the fact that, Dallas is tied for 5th. Sacramento was able to rest yesterday. The spread is pretty big at 7. I mean, there's so many ways. You could argue the point you can stack this game. You could argue the point you could pass this game. It's that simple. For me, I'm looking to have a little bit of exposure. Rashawn Holmes, I want to make sure that everything looks good there. He's come back pretty strong now. He was on a minutes limit, and he hasn't been pushed really hard minutes-wise. But I do like Holmes in this matchup. I want to make sure he's going to get that 28 to 30 minutes. If he does, he may be my center of choice here against the weak interior of the Mavericks. Not looking at really digging too deep anywhere else. I think Halliburton is playable. He's going to probably get Josh Richardson defense, which isn't the easiest to beat. However, Richardson played so poorly yesterday. He got played off the floor, and his minutes pretty much went to Hardaway Jr. So, that we got to keep an eye on. So Holmes, possibly Halliburton. On the Dallas side, not going to spend all the way up for Luka here. I think Dallas has the potential, even though it's a back-to-back, to really hand it back to the Kings. Dallas is playing more excited basketball. There's more fans there, and it's starting to, get that atmosphere, getting closer to the playoffs. And I just see this as a possible double-digit win for Dallas, and not having to extend huge minutes for some of the key players for Dallas. And they are sharing the ball now. Finney-Smith chipping in, Hardaway, Richardson. You're getting a split with Powell, Kleba, who hit a bunch of threes yesterday, and Stein. But don't want any of those guys. I think Dallas does it as a team. I don't see this one blowing up like the game last night did. So, probably a little exposure on the Sacramento side. And then on the Dallas side, more likely a fade. Finney-Smith is hot, but Harkless D is pretty solid. Just don't feel comfortable going with anybody there, which is somewhat contrarian because I think a lot of people are going to try to attack that 30th ranked Sacramento defense and possibly overplay some of the Dallas guys. And, don't fall for the trap with Kleba. He does that where he'll hit 4 or 5 threes next game, 2 points. So not worth the risk on a main slate with 7 other really good games. All right, we go to the next game. It is another 8 o'clock game. The New York Knicks at 35-28 at the Houston Rockets 16-48. It's the first of a back-to-back for the Knicks. Not that matters to Thibodeau very much. Houston, it's the second night of a back-to-back. And strange night last night. Porter got out to the hottest start in the league of anybody and then did nothing. And they just sort of, he just didn't get the minutes or produce. Knicks are a 10-point favorite. It's only a 216.5 over-under. Again, that combination is always troublesome to DFS players when you have a double-digit spread and then a low over-under. Right now, the Knicks, just Mitch Robb is out. Everybody else is good to go. Houston has House questionable, and we know that Augustine, Nwaba, and Gordon are still out. Knicks 29th in speed. They're not the slowest anymore. They've actually moved up a spot, surprisingly. Houston is 6th. Defensively, though, the Knicks are 4th, and Houston 25th. So a mixture of good D, bad D, fast, slow. Interesting to see how this one will pan out. There are some Knicks that, could step up big here. Jayshawn Tate's a monster defender, man. He really is. I think he'll guard Barrett, so that crosses Barrett off. Tate's on that small list of 5 or 6 guys that I just will not go against under any circumstances. Julius Randle is expensive, and he's due for a blow-up game, but I don't know if this stays close enough, long enough, and Christian Wood can defend. So, that's going to be interesting. Nerlens Noel was a sneaky center play for me on the last slate, and he was in the 30s. He got a decent run there. I think he's an option at a cheap price for center, or where you can play 2 centers, not a bad second option there on Yahoo or DraftKings. Kelly Olynyk's been a machine, 40s, 50s. His price is showing it, though. He's starting to gain on Christian Wood, believe it or not. So tough game to call here. What's going to win out? Is the game going to stay close enough? There are game scripts where this could be a serious, important game on the slate, or there's game scripts where, it could be a real trap game. I will consider Porter again, just because of his potential. House being out slows things down a bit. I do think Jayshawn Tate, he had a great game. He's had some really good games lately, and he's stepped up quite a bit. and he's pretty cheap. So I'm going to consider him. As far as Christian Wood goes, he's in play for me, although his price makes it a little bit tough. And I think Kellyo is finally priced out of where I want to take him at, especially with that interior defense from the Knicks. If there's any other news that breaks of Houston sitting somebody else, which is always possible on the second night of a back-to-back, then possibly Randall would make my lineup. I'm going to follow that because that'll be a key pivot for me. Right now, I'm not going to go there if Houston is going to play their full group. But if there is a change, then he will be one of my options to pay up. All right, we have another 8 o'clock game. We got a ton of 8 o'clock games. Everything's almost playing at the same time at 8 o'clock, which is unusual. There's that many tipping at the same time. We still have 3 more 8 o'clock games. The next one is the Philadelphia 76ers, 42-21. The Spurs at an even 31-31. First night of a back-to-back for both teams. And you've got 2 guys that play that back-to-back roulette wheel of letting guys sit or not play too many minutes. Doc, of course, does that on occasion and pops the all-time champion of doing that. So some concern there. Philly's a 6.5-point favorite. Decent over-under at 221. You've got Philly the 8th and San Antonio the 15th paced team in the league, so decent speed in this one. The problem is the defense. Philly's 2nd, San Antonio 12th. That is a concern. However, the big news here is DeJounte Murray. He's questionable, and that swings the whole pendulum here because Murray versus Simmons, awesome defensive matchup. I think they would eliminate each other for my pull play. But if Murray sits and they already have White out for the season, then it might, it's Patty Mills that probably steps in there and a couple of other guys. But to play Patty against Simmons isn't going to happen for me. But then Simmons becomes in play. And I'm not the biggest fan of playing Ben Simmons. But if it is Patty Mills and some of their backups to the backups and the game stays within single digits, which it's, 6.5 is the Vegas line, Simmons becomes playable for me. So let's get that Murray news and make that decision. And then as far as the interior, I love Joel most of the time. Again, though, this is a back-to-back. So is he going to get full run? Jakob Poeltl is a defender. He blocks shots, and he's a big, wide body. So, it's not the best matchup for Joel. So I'm not going to spend up there either, especially with, the issue of possibly limiting some of the minutes. And then you've got some tough defenders that can go against DeRozan. They'll throw Danny Green at him. They'll throw Thibault at him. So that gives me a little concern with DeRozan. Forcing one of the guards in from San Antonio is a value. Is that going to be the answer? You're going to get Devin Vassell and guys like that, Patty Mills, and probably who is it? Walker, one of the guards for San Antonio. There's going to be guys that sneak into the mix that could be value, but against the Philly D, it's risky. I mean, you can take a goose egg on some of these guys, so you got to be careful. But I definitely want to see what the news breaks. Could pay up for Simmons as my point guard today, and after that, maybe look for one other value play depending on the final news. Okay, we got the next one. The Phoenix Suns at 45-18. Oklahoma City Thunder 21-43. Another 8 o'clock game. We've got Phoenix favored by 15, and it's, Oklahoma City is finally, those wins that they had, they were like 20 and I think 29 at one point, and now they're 21-43. So the wheels have finally fallen off. I don't know how they stayed on as long as they did. I mean, they're playing literally with a combination of G League and guys that were waived that they just picked up to play. And so it's no wonder they're starting to get smashed, and the lines in Vegas are saying, enough's enough here. Let's jump this up. So you're going to see high teens numbers when decent teams play against Oklahoma City. Minus 15 is a lot of points. It is somewhat of a trap game for Phoenix, sandwiched between some important games for them, but they're just so much better that it's not even close. Phoenix is 23rd in pace, Oklahoma City 7th. Phoenix is up to 6th defensively. Oklahoma City is only 21st. So the question is, we have a lot of news yet to break on Oklahoma City. So this game is going to be very, very difficult to give any information on right now, because I have two different sources that have Dort, Poku, and even a few other players listed as questionable. And then one source had them as probable. So we need to see who's in, who's out with them, because that obviously dictates who's going to get those minutes. They played Charlie Brown as a starter the last game. So we just need to, you really can't play Thunder games until the news comes out, because they're such a G League, Summer League kind of squad at this point. Don't like the Suns here either. I mean, they should blow them out. They should get minutes for a lot of people. I know it's an island game, but I just don't see guys going the deep minutes. And if Dort does play, he'll get some shifts on Booker and probably even Chris Paul. So this really is a pass game for me until the Oklahoma City news breaks, and then maybe one or even two of the young guys, because they're really somewhat blowout proof, because they know they're getting beat pretty much every game. And when whoever they decide to sit or play, the guys they're playing, it's pretty much regardless of the score, they're going to get a deep run. So that could be a Maladone, it could be a Baisley. There's several different possibilities there if Poku suits up. So we'll see. We got to follow that one, stay in touch. All right, we've got the last 8 o'clock game finally. It's Miami and Charlotte, and it's a little bit tricky because it's the second night of a back-to-back for both. We know LaMelo Ball returned and had a nice little outing for Charlotte. The question will be, what type of minutes is he going to play on a back-to-back? It was a wrist, so his cardio should be fine. So I think we'll see him in there. Devontae Graham is questionable. We know Gordon Hayward's still out. The Heat are 34-30, by the way, if I didn't say that. The Hornets are 31-32. So important games. Both of them are really competing for a playoff spot and seeding and trying to get in that play-in tournament. Miami is -6. The over-under is only 212, so that's not good. But, like I said, the Knicks aren't the slowest team in the league anymore. The crown has now been taken on by the Miami Heat. So the Heat playing slow down defense type, grind it out, get the victory, keep the team below 100, sort of that playoff mentality starting to build in as they get into these last 10, 11 games of the season. So that definitely scares you as far as, firing guys up from this game. And it also, the fact that they're both on the second night of a back-to-back is a little concerning. If Graham sits, though, and I would expect Ball to be on some sort of a minutes restriction, even if it's 25, 28, whatever it is, which does open it up a bit for Terry Rozier. But, he's probably going to get stuck right in the Jimmy Butler jaws right there. So that makes him a very tough play. We had Miles Bridges sort of went a little bonkers the last game. I don't think he'll find it as easy going against Ariza and Bam and some of those guys. I do like Bam here, though. That's one guy I'd like to bring up. Charlotte's playing a little smaller with PJ at center, but then they're rotating in Biyombo at times, and they're just playing all kinds of different combinations at the big. And Bam's been pretty quiet. His price is neutralized a little bit. I think he could be a difference maker here to really get you to the number that you need to get to. So he's my key in this game at this moment. And then after that, I'm going to try to definitely catch up on what the news is on LaMelo here and see what that minutes cap is before I make a decision. Because if they say he's not on a restriction or he's going to play over 30, then he's in play without a doubt here. All right, we've got one game left, and it is the late night sweat, the late night hammer, whatever you want to call it. It starts 2 hours later at 10 p.m. Eastern. So this will be a game where if you have some exposure, you're going to be excited to get to. If you pass it and have most of your guys done, then you're not going to look forward to it at all. But I'm going to have a little dip my toe in the water here and have a little exposure because I think this is a decent game. You've got the Raptors at 26-38 and the Lakers at 36-27. Toronto is on the second night of a back-to-back, but they did rest Kyle Lowry last night. He's expected to play tonight. So that's a big boost for them having a rested Raptors. The best rested Raptor and Lowry. And then you have the Lakers on the first night of a back-to-back. So, LeBron and Davis back in the mix now. How many minutes, what's the minutes limit on LeBron as he's eased back into things? We have to see all of that. They wouldn't have started him playing again if he wasn't really 100%. So I assume he is close to 100%. But we need to read the minutes restriction, see what the plan is. We'll have plenty of time to adjust. And there's big enough names in this game that, if you do decide you want to go with a LeBron, you can do it. And then if you hear he's on a 20-minute restriction or something, you can always pivot to AD. You got Pascal Siakam on the other side, Van Vliet, Lowry. So, leave yourself. What I'm planning on doing is having two guys rostered in this last game and leaving those options open because a lot of people don't pay close enough attention to that or they don't want the stress of worrying about it, so they just don't do it, or they'll play one of those guys and not have any kind of backup plan if they get ruled out or have a minutes restriction. So I'll have a high price guy and a medium-ish price guy that I'll have all kinds of opportunities to shift and change it up. Because really, these two teams, anything's possible. I mean, Van Vliet played great for us last night. He's scheduled right now in with no tag on him, but I've seen Nurse, announce he's resting a guy and make that move too. So, we need the news for both sides. As of now, though, I do like a rested Kyle Lowry. I think he'll get a full allotment of minutes. And I do respect the Lakers' #1 defense, though. Toronto's 11th in D, so not a game you really want to stack. 14th and 13th in pace, which, is just completely average, but not bad. Lakers are favored by 7, but the total is 217.5, which is pretty low. So not a game to stack, like I said. Trent is probable. He'll suit up. He missed the last game for Toronto, and he's been hot. Boucher and Watson remain out, and Caruso, LeBron are questionable. So we don't even know if LeBron's going to play. So that's massive. Now, he gets listed questionable all the time. But AD and 5 other Lakers are listed as probable, which is a joke. So, I'm not even considering the probables as anything but in. The questionable guys are probably more towards probable. But, of course, we need to see that. If LeBron does sit, then, do you go to Anthony Davis? I think that would be very logical. It does shift that strategy a little bit, too. But instead of, rostering a LeBron, you roster a Davis along with a Lowry, and you still have lots of ways you can go there. Khem Birch has been fantastic for me every time I've played him. He did seem a little out of gas last night. Really could have used him to push us we were already in the top 5 in huge tournaments, top 7. But if he could have had a big fourth quarter, even a decent fourth quarter, we could have had a few more takedowns. And I don't mean to sound, gluttonous here. I mean, we did great. We had lots of top, 0.05, better than 1% finishes. But Birch really just sort of was in neutral in the fourth quarter last night. And again, he went from not playing a ton of minutes to getting waived to getting picked up by Toronto and then starting and playing like 40 minutes. So, I'm not going to go with Birch tonight, as awesome as he's been for me. I think a lot of people will be tempted because of his salary, but I think he's a little tired, and that's a concern for me. And that's also why I think AD is definitely potential there. And as far as Drummond goes, all the splitting there, I just don't want any part of it. I can't stand the whole, Drummond, Harold, Gasol thing. And, if Davis is going to play some 5, just not worth it, too risky. So really my focus here is Lowry. Siakam, if we get guys from the Lakers rolled out on the other side, I do have some interest in one of the big dogs, either LeBron or AD, all dependent on news there. And so probably two-man exposure here, and set up with the option to make some pivots, for the 2-hour later game. So should make for an awesome finish to a great slate. There's, as we know, the important thing is to stay in touch with all the news, so you know exactly what to pivot to. A lot of those late pivots last night made a big difference for us, as we found out guys that were going to start without minutes restrictions, etc., like the Mo Wagners, etc., etc. So it was a great night. We want to follow it up with even a better night. So we're looking forward to that. If you'd like to join us just go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can sign up for even our 3-day pass for $10. Want to thank our sponsors, Monkey Knife Fight and Super Draft. We also have a really good relationship with Prize Picks. So all of those bonuses that you can get through Coach Talk are on our website. Just go to our sponsors, partners page. You'll see several of them on there. Feel free to use those codes. It's Coach Talk, all one word, no space for most of them, but you'll see all of them right there on our website if you're looking to try out any of those. And also our BetUS.com.pa partner, they still are offering a free membership. If you want to bet $149 as a new member at BetUS, go to betus.com.pa. Use the promo code CoachTalk, and you'll be able to play the $149 on BetUS with whatever you want to do. You can do NBA props, games, whatever, and you get a free membership for the entire month of May with Coach Talk with that sign up. So take advantage of that before that goes away here this month. And that is it. If you want to catch us on Twitter, we're all at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and he'll be back with me tomorrow. Tomorrow's a nice, I believe, 8-game slate with some great matchups. So Andrew will be back on the podcast with me tomorrow. So thank you for joining in. Let's finish off a hot weekend. And then tomorrow we'll look to crush it in DFS.